guests and fellow citizens, a good afternoon and welcome back to your favorite series, the Inter-University Debate Show. Today's topic is the impact of the postponement of special interest group elections using a student's perspective. My name is Sharon Mukisa. I am your host for this particular episode. With me, dear viewers, I have a panel of guests who are educators, they are advocates, and they are students. And in no particular hierarchy, allow me introduce them to you. Starting from the farthest from me, Atukunda Violet, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
It's nice having you. Next is a gentleman, Peter Clever Chanja. We are very happy to have you here. He's from Makerere University.
Thank you so much. Just like I had warned, you made the same blunder. Peter Clever Chanja. Very glad being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction.
Welcome.
I think we shall use Peter and Clever from now on.
For the safety of everybody's tongue.
Yes, for the safety of our viewers and for the moderator as well. And next is a lady, Miss Asoniwa Sandra from Makerere University. We are happy to have you.
Hello, I am glad to be here and ready to hear and learn.
Interesting. You're also ready to learn from you and to hear what you have to say. And certainly not least, one of the many faces that you keep on seeing on this show is Luaga John Elian, who is from Uganda Christian University and who is a Muta as well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for once again inviting me to this wonderful show. I'm just very excited to learn from the panelists and also to educate and also be educated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think for every episode you have been here, we have been fully educated and we have gone away with a few phrases. So before we dive into today's conversation, which is the impact of the postponement of the special interest group elections, we'd like to understand what are these special groups? Who are they? And should we really call them special interest groups? So starting off the discussion is Peter discussing and telling us what are the special interest groups.
Thank you so much, my sister. I hope you're fine with me calling you that.
It's okay.
Yes, so what are the special interest groups? When you hear the word special interest groups, does it alarm in your ears? Well, I think it must do. It dates back from, I don't know how many years, but yes, marginalization against the youth for reasons we are going to know all through this session. Marginalization against the people with disabilities for reasons we are going to know still during this very engagement. Marginalization, exclusion of the older persons. When we talk of the older persons, we are looking at people ranging from 60 and above, 60 years of age and above. Those are the ones we look at as the older persons. When we talk of the youth as a special interest group, these are people ranging from 18. Well, you qualify as an adult when you're past 18, but between 18 and 30, the Constitution of Uganda looks at you as a youth. And then the people with disabilities, quite a number of impairments. These days, we don't want to call them people with disabilities, but rather differently abled people. We have those that have visual impairments. We have those that have mobility impairments. We could look at the lame people, those that are using the wheelchairs. We look at the blind people. We look at those that can't speak, those that can't hear, the deaf, and quite a number of people that are not like myself. We call them differently abled people. So we also have women. Some searches will give you women as a special interest group. As a matter of fact, there are various programs of the government that are just entirely hinged about women and pulling them out as special interest groups, and quite a number of other groups. And why are we looking at them as special interest groups? You must have noted I started with the word marginalization, right? Back then, myself, just because now I qualify to be part of the category of the youth, we couldn't say a thing about certain matters, right? Because, yes, we are young. and decisions are made by people that have seen something, probably 30 or so years of age. So back then there was, I will call it better exclusion of the likes of myself and probably the entire group here, right, in matters of decision making. So the reason as to why they are called interest groups is they needed special attention to help them be part of the decisions that are being made to, you know, governance decisions. As a matter of fact, we make the largest section of the population of Uganda, and it is only good that we take part in the decisions that are being made. Not forgetting the people with disabilities as well. Your problem is not my problem. The problems of the people with disabilities are not the problems I face. Yes, we could share quite a number of problems, but there are problems they will face that I will not face. So we need to hear from them, and that is the reason we call them special interest groups, because they need special attention. Go to the people with disabilities, or differently abled people, as we should prefer calling them, the youths, the ladies, and the older persons as well. Many times in society, when somebody clocks the age of 60, these days, myself and probably the people at this panel shall say, "Oyo wa miaka mikade," you get. And many times, they may not be given due attention, yet they actually deserve attention, because yes, they're human beings, and yes, they live like we do, and they need to be given attention in general. So all those groups formerly have been marginalized, have been excluded, but now we're calling them special interest groups, because they need special attention so that we can have them on same table, on a round table of decision making, and to see how best we can help them live like ourselves. So bottom line, special interest groups we are looking at today, we are looking at the people with disabilities or the differently abled people. We are looking at the youth. We could look at the ladies, and then older persons, not to forget non-unionized workers. These ones do not belong to any trade union, do not belong to any labor union. You understand? And because they do not belong to any labor union, probably their issues may not be given due attention, because they have no representative. You don't belong to UNATU. Well, I was working here, I saw PSITU, Professional Science Teachers Association. I'm very certain there is Professional Arts Teachers Association. So all those people belong to that category. And why we call them special interest, they need special attention because of the formerly or the marginalization and the exclusion that is dated back. So I think that is giving us light enough about who the special interest groups are and why we choose to categorize them that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. You have explained the various special interest groups. You have told us what they're comprised of and why we call them special interest groups. So today, Uganda's any other country has come up to ensure that these people's concerns and needs are represented. This is through elections, through having representatives that can speak for them, and that is why we have elections today. So John will take us through what the structure looks like for the National Youth Council, who are one of the special interest groups.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, my name is Loga John Elian, and it's a great honor to be on this show. So before I proceed to your question, allow me to contextualize the discussion. When you look at the special interest groups that my learned friend has also talked about recently, and how he has categorized them, and comparing to the question of the structures, there is a way it rings a bell that talks about the National Youth Council Act. So on the part of the legal sector, we have a particular act of parliament, a particular legislation that governs this particular National Youth Council and all the particular interest groups therein and all the elections that have taken place at a national level and at village level. So that's called the National Youth Council Act. So now to look at what that particular National Youth Act does and the mandate, to just contextualize the discussion, is that it serves the Uganda as a country, and it gives the umbrella for where the youth can collect and have a particular voice as a whole. It gives that particular platform and foundation for particular youths around the country to do particular mobilization. It's part of its mandate under this particular act. This is the National Youth Council, and it's CAP 319. So looking at the structures now you've asked, they are particularly provided for under Section 5 of that particular act. And these structures are at different levels, just to contextualize the question. When you look at these particular structures under that Section 5, they are categorized in: first, there is the Village Youth Council. Secondly, we also have the Parish Youth Council. We have the Division Youth Council. We also have the District Youth Council, and literally that is what Section 5 covers, just in a short title, like for us to just have our viewers to understand what exactly entails these particular structures. However, to just break each of them down for purposes of contextualizing them and giving it a particular understanding, when you look at the Village Youth Council, to start with that one, at a particular level, just the way the name is, they were all named depending on the locality and the jurisdictions they cover. Looking at the Village Youth Council, it's just at the village level. It literally covers, we all have our villages back home. So there is that particular youth council that actually, I don't know whether some of us have heard about them in the first place. We are very familiar with local councils. We are very familiar with the local councils and the office of the mayor and the speaker and all those other offices. But we also have the office of the Village Youth Council at that village level, where you can go as a young man of 18 years and advocate for particular issues that are attaching to that particular village. And it is provided for nationally. So to just give it a background, all youth that are between 18 years and 30 can take part, as my friend Peter also gave that particular background, that 18 to 30 years you're recognized as a youth. And this particular act covers literally just the youth. So any person between 18 years and 30 can go and stand for a position at the Village Youth Council, and there are literally 5 members to be taken at that particular level. And it includes the chairperson, it includes the vice chairperson, it includes the secretary, it includes the treasurer, and it includes the publicity secretary. And you can take on these particular offices. It's about us just standing in and taking in these particular representative positions. I don't know whether Chaja can try to go back to his village and advocate for that particular office at the Village Youth Council, just for purposes of, contextualizing the discussion, so that we do not throw the discussion to the viewers, that also us, we go back and take part in these particular offices. Who else then will do? So we also have the Parish local council, youth council, the Parish Youth Council. As I earlier on contextualized, they're at different levels. So each level has its particular necessities when you go in depth and what they're literally requiring of you. And when you look at, it's also composed of the chairperson. It also has the vice chairperson. It just literally has representatives from all village youth councils. Like now, when you combine the villages that are in that particular locality, now their representatives are going to go and be represented on the Parish Youth Council. And that is where they will collect. So it literally has a chairperson, a vice chairperson, but then the other representatives of the villages will now also sit at the Parish Local Council. And its function is just literally to coordinate youth activities within that particular parish level. You realize that there is a way, when you look at the particular organization of the NRM and how we started with the regiment system in 1986 when they introduced their 10-point manifesto. They talked about the issue of democracy, and to put democracy into hand, they introduced the elements of village level democracy, that at a lower level someone can take part in an election and actually represent that particular area at a local level without even merely just waiting for the national offices. So whereas we have the local councils, we also have the youth councils that are literally supposed to be platforms for the youth to come out and air out their particular voices. In light of the whole discussion, the purpose is to enable youth to actually be agents of change, to be like to have platforms from which they can speak out and air out their particular views. We recognize that in a local council, let me say chairperson 1, chairperson 2, those LC1 and LC2, you might find someone of 18 finds it hard to take part. But the issue is not all is lost. Like we now have this particular other levels. So just to take it on, we have the divisional town youth council. Like now, as the ladder still progresses, we now see how we continue to add other particular sections of the democratic ladder. And after the parish, now go to the town council. It also is formed by chairpersons and representatives from all parish youth councils. Now, all the chairpersons that we have been having formally behind are all going to be sitting on this town council meeting. I mean, town council, youth council. And all the representatives now from the two are now also going to be taking part in this particular platform. You recognize that at this point, it becomes huge. There is a way the democratic bag becomes just bigger with time, until now it becomes a national issue. I think I'm just trying to draw a context into how we now come to the national level. Because now all the representatives at the village level are going to take part in the parish, and all of them will now be put at the town council, and that's how we shall be progressing. It's a clear indication that indeed democracy is not just in light of the national elections that people always look out for, and especially when it comes to the presidential elections, people, that's where they will bring out their lenses of democracy, and where things do not go right, they will now start criticizing the entire democratic system. However, they do not criticize the village youth councils, but we also have them, and people have to be actually aware. And I love the fact that you chose this topic, because it's a topic that is literally given less attention. Like, who in the first place would you could in the first place realize that they do not even care? Then other platforms are like, no, we are now going to be focused about the national elections and the youth council. But we also have these other platforms that people actually have, and the fourth one is the district youth council. Now this is at a district level, and as just that I had already promised, it's progressive in nature. It keeps becoming bigger and bigger. So it has all representatives from the sub county or division youth council. So all the representatives at that particular level that we have been talking about are now going to be at the division youth council. The purpose of them meeting is not just to take tea or just look at each other. It's not about that. They are literally looking at how basically to involve youths in democracy, into issues of you standing out as a young man to advocate for your views. And that is the issue. To engage and organize youths into a unified body. We are creating a unified body for young men of 18 years to 30. Let it not cross 30 before you actually take and engage in these particular offices. Just for purposes of you knowing how to democratically take part in a particular system. And lastly, we have the National Youth Council now, which all of us have an idea about, literally. That at a national level, we have the National Youth Council, which is provided for under the National Youth Council Act, CAP 319, the one that I earlier started with, to give us a background and establishment of these other local councils, of these other youth councils that are provided for in Section 5. So literally, this is like the apex structure of the entire democratic system that relates to these other structures. The apex structure, the appellate one, the apex one, the topmost structure as regards to understanding the youth councils. Its composition is under the Act, as we have talked about, the fact that it recognizes now these other. Remember, we've been talking about how they keep joining and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we have each district. We are now having each district having its particular delegates, or having its particular youth members or youth representatives. So we shall have 2 student representatives that are going to be elected at this particular level by the National Ugandan National Students Association, and one must be a female. That's according to the Act. When you read that particular Act of the National Youth Council Act, that is specifically Section 4, which is talking about the composition of the Act, where they say that 1 representative from each district elected by the members of the Ugandan National Students Council, and one of them must be female. It now goes back to the element that you introduced in earlier on of special interest groups, that they're trying to create a formula through which all parties are represented equally to the platform. That is bringing something to do with Article 21 of the Constitution, which talks about the fact that we have equality before the law, that all of us are equal before the law. So literally, simply because all of us are equal before the law, we have equal representation and affirmative action. And I think that's what they're trying to put forward in Section 4 of the National Youth Council Act, pursuant to the apex body of this particular democratic system. And as such, we just want to conclude that the entire system is starting from a district, is starting from a village level until it now reaches the final level of justice. That is when it comes to the National Youth Council. The question, therefore, is before us today, like looking at the current affairs today. That is now where we come into the issues of what is happening in the country today. Just to give a background and an understanding, that has been the composition and the structures that make up the National Youth Council. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elian. You have explained how we come about to have the National Youth Council. It starts from the grassroots, being from the village to the parish, to the sub-counties, to the town, to the district, up to the National Youth Council. All throughout, youths are being represented, youths' voices are being heard, and youths are standing. They are contesting, they are candidates in these elections, and there are also those supporting their candidates throughout the election through campaigning. So as we know now, the state of affairs is different because we were expecting to have these elections sooner, but these elections have been postponed. The whole program has been rescheduled. So we'd like to know from our panel what could be the impact of postponement of these elections in the participation, in regards to participation of the youth. Will they be less interested? Would they be fatigued because these elections have been delayed? Or rather, would they take this as a chance to do better mobilization? So starting from Sandra, Miss Sandra Asoniwa, what do you think would be the impact of the postponement of these SIG elections?
Okay, thank you. So we look at the elections, we look at the events that happened last Tuesday. So this is affecting both the aspirants and the participants, the youth. So let me talk about the youths that are participating. So generally, to get it out of just being a national youth election, generally anything in life would demoralize you if you had to do it over and over again. Like you set your mind to, I'm going to do it now, then they frustrate it. So there's that general frustration that they have put on the youths that is most probably going to demoralize them because they came, they voted, they claim they voted. So why are you postponing? Why, like, they came ready to do it, so why are you invalidating something that they were trying to do? So we look at the time frame. Most of youths are 18 to 30, so most of them are either campusers or early working class or people that are just trying to figure their lives out, so they actually have things to do. We are not talking about people that are in a bracket of like high school, so they can leave, like if school gave them time, they would go back home and they wouldn't really, it wouldn't like affect them so much. We're talking about someone that is trying to figure their life out, someone that has a job that requires them to show up, and they cannot really use an excuse of, I'm going for the national youth elections for the third time because they keep postponing them. Because we're looking at the fact that some people traveled from far to make it there to vote. People had to like make sacrifices to be there. So now the time frame for like, in the most recent news, it has been put to October. So now let's look at campus students. They resume around September, August. So in October, that will be them trying to patch up so that they have their final examinations in November, December. So if they are trying to like, because now this is a university system, you cannot tell the vice chancellor would like a week off to prepare. So at that time, they're trying to like patch up, they're trying to like do final touches, the lecturers are trying to like accomplish what they're supposed to study, and then they are being told, you know what? This is the time for the elections. So guess what you did in August? All that effort, you'd have to do it again. It is generally frustrating and demoralizing. And then now we look at like resources, individual resources. I talked about the fact that they have to travel from places, they have to input a lot, and then it's all being frustrated. So I think, in my opinion, it's generally something that is going to make them lose their morale to do it again. Like they could come and do it again, but it's not the same energy that they used to do it the first time. And also considering that they set these elections in a time frame that is supposed to harmonize with the general elections. That's why they have dates for each. So the fact that they keep being pushed creates that kind of like, what about that? Like, they plan this period so that everything harmonizes. So how about the fact that now they have to like do it at a different time, but there is something that was supposed to happen within that period of time. Yeah, that's in my opinion.
Thank you, Sandra. You mentioned that generally many people will be frustrated because they expected to vote at that particular time. They expected results to be out. They expected to be done with the whole voting period. So I'd like to know, moving on to Peter, I hope you had discussion.
I did.
So moving on to Peter, Sandra says it's going to be frustrating. It's already frustrating for these youths. Do you think this delay could be a positive thing? Could it be a time when a candidate is going to change someone's mind and pull them over to their side?
Thank you. I've been a candidate before.
Okay.
And I'm very certain many of us on this panel probably have been candidates for, I don't know which positions. So I would not at any point say it is positive.
Okay.
With an election system or campaign system that we have in Uganda that is manned by money, you understand, manned by resources, and owing to the fact that the people in this process, in these elections, are youth. My sister here said we are still trying to figure out our way. I will therefore speak for the candidates because I've been a candidate before. The extension is very much of a negative. It is financially constraining. I just mentioned that Uganda's system, Uganda's election process is manned by resources. Fact is, 90%, those are my personal statistics, yes, but 90% chances state that if you do not have money, you're not going to grab whichever position you're standing for. So probably this young man, probably this gentleman or this lady sat down with whoever is providing her with resources, or probably she collected her resources and she was like, yes, this is going to run me for this period. So probably by the date of elections, I'll be good to go with this. And you give them an extra month. You want them to sell father's plots. You want them to sell their father's cars. You want them to sell their little, assets they have gathered. So very much it is financially constraining. However, just like you see my fingers here, they are not all of the same height, even when they belong to the same person. There are those that have stronger financial muscle than others. Actually, where they are right now, I'm very certain they could be celebrating because they're like, yes, we have now some more weeks of converting people. However, one thing hurts me a lot. It is not people being converted because this gentleman or this lady has a very nice agenda, but it is my brothers, my sisters going to be converted because somebody has given them 50,000 that is going to be done in a week. So very much I will say it is financially constraining, and not at any point would I welcome a months-long extension. What reason will the electoral commission give to us? Logistics? I don't know, irregularities? What couldn't they handle anyway? Because yes, they're supposed to oversee. What couldn't they handle? So it is very financially constraining on the side of those like me who do not have quite hefty bags of money. Financially constraining it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. You've mentioned it could be financially constraining. Sandra has said that generally it could be frustrating. So I'd like to know from Viola, what do you think, is this, by the way, a positive? Because all of them are mentioning that this is negative. So is there anything positive that's coming out of postponement of these elections? Could they use this, could the leaders, those that are standing, use this time to better their skills? Or could the voters just be generally frustrated and time out and not be interested in voting?
Well, thank you very much. I think this is a chance for these candidates to actually refine their campaigns, and come out with different strategies, different ways of carrying on with all these campaigns. And it is going to be a challenging experience, but it is going to enable them to develop their skills of creativity. It's going to enable them to be more resilient, and it is going to help them to grow as leaders. I think it will be of help to them, but I concur with the former speakers. It is very costly, and in a Uganda that is filled with corruption, rigging of elections, it's going to be a very huge challenge. We don't know what the Electoral Commission is planning for them, and I just hope this is going to be the time for them to actually organize themselves and come up with better ways. They should prepare those voters registers and ensure that the voters are all known, so that we do not have situations where delegates come from I don't know wherever, and we are confused as youths. We don't know what is happening. People are rigging votes, all that. I hope that it will be the time for them to set themselves and be prepared for the coming elections. Yeah, but I concur it's going to be very frustrating for the youth. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Given that different agendas are happening right now, people have, like she mentioned, these are people who are just fresh in their work areas, their careers, some are at universities. So there is a lot that has been pushed and rescheduled for another day. So lastly, John, Elian, on the same, a few positive things have been mentioned as to the impact of this postponement, and a lot of negative things have been mentioned as well. So I'd like to know from you, do you think this would be a rather positive effect or a negative effect in regards to the postponement of the SIG elections?
Thank you so much for your question. To just give an understanding on the postponement of these particular elections, I want us to first assess how exactly elections generally are carried out in this particular country of ours, the Pearl of Africa. And as per the recent delegates meetings and elections that we have had, and now we assess we give a snapshot on the special groups elections. We were faced with elections last week that were literally a clear blunder and a mockery of justice. That indeed it keeps getting worse. The ulcer keeps getting deep. That each and every time we are always crying and choking from poor governance and poor democracy and misuse of the law and, misinterpretation of the law and how we exactly do each and everything when it comes to the periods of elections. However, when it came to the delegates meetings, you could realize that you could jump from 10 to 30 and then from 30 to 100, and it was very possible at that particular location. Unlike in your mathematics that you were taught by the same government, you could not jump from 10 to 30. Practical on ground, you could jump from one individual being counted. I don't know whether by size they were looking at the particular individuals, and by their sizes they were like, okay, for you now you are heavier, you look 10 people.
You're a person and
So
a half.
we are looking at the elections and the modus operandi of how they have been conducted. So that when we start now yearning for the national youth, we now be like, okay, we are missing something. In the first place, it's a frustration for you to in the first place to keep postponing these particular elections and the postponement of these special groups elections. It's literally a frustration. However, when you look at the issue of the youth that are going to be engaged in these particular elections, they have a time limit. Because unlike them, first we had between 18 and 30, and we are not just literally moving on ground, we are literally having other things we're doing. We are engaged in education, we are engaged in other activities that actually just keep developing us. So when we are told about a particular program, that we are actually having a particular program, and we actually put it in mind, I do not expect you to now make particular changes on that particular program without even any particular clear reasoning that you're putting forward. And realize that it's going to frustrate the people involved. Unlike them, the young men today lose interest very easily. You could not just tell me that I'm going to wait for me to participate in democracy. People will just get agitated, and they are seeing what is happening the other side at Kololo. They're like, no wonder, I have reasons to go back and sleep. So it's just going to frustrate people who are being involved. And you see, I just do not want each and every individual that had an interest in participating to actually give up. I'm here as, a voice that would love to encourage all of us to go back and participate. Those ones who had interest in participating in the first place. Do not lose hope. Just try to do your best and, go back. However, you realize that politics is planned. Someone is putting forward a particular amount of money. Someone is putting forward a particular army, ground army, that is going to be there to look for the votes and each and everything. So those plans need to also be aligned with. Do not just say that I'm postponing each and everything. You've killed someone's plan and strategy that they were actually having. And that's the whole program and the whole issue. And these are special groups. In the first place, like, why wouldn't you do that to the delegates conference and everything that you did? You realize you could not do that. You gave time and all of you are collecting there and you did each and everything in that particular week. Now when it comes to this thing, then you start shying away. But I would encourage each and every individual to just keep participating and be able not to lose hope. And if there was any youth out there that had the interest of participating, do not give up, because if you think politics will not, if you think you give up on politics and sleep, politics will look for you from whichever corner of the room you would hide from. And those are Pericles' words. He literally made that statement in 430 BC. Is that politics will literally, just because you don't love it, doesn't mean it will not look for you. For it will love you. And it will affect you. In other words, politics can affect you. So let's not just talk about this. Let's take positive steps to actually just not give up on participating in these particular elections, so that we are able to, at the end of the day, make sense of it. And as such, I literally just want to say it's going to frustrate people being involved. It's going to financially strain people who are being involved. But literally, the youth today are a strong rock that cannot be reckoned with, unlike in the past. The youth today, where we have the Peters here, you cannot literally joke with them. And he's actually called Peter, whereby when you realize that water can break a rock, not because of its strength, but because of consistency. These particular engagements we keep making here and the particular voices we keep putting forward, there is someone who will wake up and say, let me go and still participate in the special interest groups elections. And as such, it is our role here. So definitely, I understand it will frustrate people, but democratically, we should keep on track. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elian. As the panel has discussed, explained to us who are these special interest groups, and we have taken a special interest into the youth. We have looked at the structure of the National Youth Council, starting from the village level, the parish, the sub-counties, the town councils, the district, up to the National Youth Council. And we have also looked at the impact of the postponement of these elections. They have given their views, and we cannot wait to hear your views down in the comment section below. We are taking a break and we shall be right back.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back after the break, and we are continuing with our discussion today. Our topic being the impact of the postponement of the special interest group elections, using a student's perspective, with the panel that I have today that is full of educators, students and also advocates. We had talked about the National Youth Council structures, and we had talked about what comprises of these special interest groups. Continuing the discussion, we would like to hear from Luaga John Elian on how universities can mitigate the challenges that youth face as they're participating and getting involved in these elections.
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. You see, to just give a context about that particular question, when you look at the youths, they make up like 70% in this particular country. However, the people that are leading us and the ones who are making the 30% are the ones in the topmost position. Now, when you look at the university and the people who are there, the people who actually might not literally resonate well with the youth affairs, and they would keep pushing them each and every time they try to ask something. I do not know my friend from Makerere here, Peter. I do not know whether you have had such
Actually,
scenarios.
all of them are from
Oh,
Makerere University.
so literally, we always have the news updates giving us how people are striking there and pulling ropes and, rubbing shoulders with the administration. It's because of the age difference that the other side is literally so old and the other side is literally so young.
Yeah.
And when you look at the issues that you people keep asking for and they are not making sense to them, you understand? And just to come now to the question of how then would the university come in to help? The university is going to be led by an administration. It has to be a hearing administration. That indeed we want to sit down as a whole country because it's a national youth issue. And then all institutions are told about these pending elections so that they're able to also just do their best and pose particular programs for the university to allow these individuals to actually take part in the national youth elections and the special interest groups elections. Why? It's because you might find that a particular university now has an exam that day. And this particular one individual wants to actually just go and participate and be elected, or has been actually doing their best, or is a staunch voter. So when you deny them the opportunity of going simply because they have papers, they're going to be conflicted with a conflict of interest. That's where do I go? A paradox. Where do I go? Do I remain here or do I go and answer papers? Do I get a retake or do I go and get a position, which I'm not sure I'll in the first place get? To avoid that conflict, the universities have to sit down and allow that these people should actually participate. Because the challenge with this whole issue is that when you see people, like, they would see the youths dancing and they would think that they are mad simply because for them they don't hear the music. So it's not about simply because you're seeing someone else enjoying something and you clarify them as literally out of this world simply because for you do not understand what they are doing. If you see someone on TikTok, for example, a young man today dancing to a particular song, a girl there dancing to a particular challenge, youth who is 8 and above, you see these people wasting time simply because that was not in your time and you don't resonate with it today. That is just age difference. So today we have to understand that our voices have to be represented because they're going to be represented through these particular elections. Now, if they cannot even through that particular representation help us to actually just attend in these particular elections, it means the whole purpose of us actually participating is not, it's like for a useless purpose. Because we are participating to have our issues resolved and put forward for us to be heard. Now we are even asking you to just allow us to participate. You're even not hearing us. So why are we in the first place participating? So it literally beats the whole purpose of the elections. So the entire thing is the academic structures have to be aligned with the political systems of the country so that the people who are now in the universities and the administrations can put forward a particular program or schedule that on this particular day we're not going to attend particular classes or we're not going to do particular useful information. For example, like exams. You can put up your studies and be like, those ones who are going to be present, we shall attend classes, but not strictly. But those ones who are going to have papers, let me say that particular day or week, they should suspend them for purposes of, progressively putting into realization this particular program of the special interest groups, thereby actually giving a particular highlight to what we're actually protecting. We are into these particular elections because we are demoralized, because we are actually marginalized. And if you do not even in the first place give us a platform to actually be there, it then beats the whole purpose. It actually shows that we're actually more marginalized than any other group. So, and as such, just the universities are called forward to align their interests with the Electoral Commission so they're able to create a smooth platform for the youth to engage in these particular elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I think that is a very crucial point you put forward, because to ensure that we are all moving in the same direction, having youth participate, not holding them behind because of education is important. and they're not going to miss papers, examinations, classes just because they have to vote. Both of those things are rights and they are important. So thank you very much, John, for that. I would like to know from Ms. Asoniwa Sandra, how can these students effectively communicate their concerns to the, you could tell us about the different stakeholders in this, the universities, the primaries, wherever. How can they best communicate their concerns, such as John has stated out?
So I think a few, Ali, can I take a few steps back?
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, a few steps back to what he has been discussing to drive to my point. So first of all, it's the fact that we have to sit down and discuss how a university should align with an electoral process shows that the weight of the importance of voting for youths is not there. Like, it feels invalidated because there is a right to vote. This is something that is it's not happening every day. So if the time it happens after like 5 years, there is need to actually ask universities to let people exercise their right. It draws a lot of concern to, does it even matter? Like, do people know that they have to vote? Does the university sit down and be like, no, our students have to vote? Do they take a step to make sure these students know that they need to vote? Like, why would Valentine's Day be more popular among the youths than voting day? Like, that's absurd, because one of the reasons for formation of National Youth Council is so that they can address problems that are facing the youth by the youth.
Yes.
So for us to communicate, now us communicating to the administration, to the parliament, what we need to actually have the voice of a youth have the weight that the presidential election holds. Like, it's not the same position, but in this category, because you've categorized us as people, you've categorized women, you've categorized youth, now this is where I fall. As a man, he's not falling under the women, so the woman is, so this is his time to talk, this is his time to shine. So the fact that he's not being given the importance, that's the baseline. He has no way of communicating what he wants to say. So there needs to be an importance attached to youth elections. There needs to be that extra voice, like a microphone added to it. Yes. So in that way, I feel like that is step one for us to actually communicate what we need, for us to actually show what are we going through, so what do we need now? And if that's not done, because if you say, how do we communicate best? We have already been communicating, we have been saying what we want, but they have not been hearing us because we don't have a voice. We are just existing, like it's ceremonial that youths are going to Kolodo to vote. Because, like, why is a father announcing the son? Like, it's really absurd. So I feel like what we need is a voice before we can actually communicate.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for that. I'd like to hear from you, Peter. Are there any recommendations that you think should be put forward in terms of the rescheduling of these voting periods?
Thank you so much, my sister. It is quite a hard question for me, or a hard task for me to give recommendations. Allow me build some context here. We all acknowledge, or we accept that this is not the first time such a thing is happening, right?
Yes.
It's not the first time it is happening. So when you ask us to communicate with the university administration to see that they adjust their program to have us fit in, well, it's a good thing. But do you think it may happen again? That there shall be reason X, reason Y, reason Z, that we have the elections postponed to some other date? Are we going to be in that rat cat race all the day? Mine is rather not a recommendation, but a challenge to the people that man these elections, to the people that organize these elections. I asked a friend, and then they told me Blaise Komugisha, he was the NRM flag bearer, and We have a very, okay, I don't want to use the word dramatic, but very interesting gentleman at Makerere. You must be knowing Omujugujugu. Yeah, I'm told he did bring up information that this gentleman Kamugisha Blaze was older than 30, and so he was not supposed to be part of the election. And so I wonder how the organizers, because I'm told the reason it was pushed because it was of I don't know, irregularities and then chaos that the youth put up. The youth were in agitation, and they were not welcome to the fact that Kamugisha was being put off the ballot. But Kamugisha is a Ugandan. We have an entire organization or body that is concerned with our biodata. So he has been a Ugandan, he's grown up in Uganda, so we are very certain of when he was born, right? And how smart is Kamugisha to dupe an entire electoral commission, and then he brings false documents, and then at the end of the day somebody else brings up other documents saying something different. Doesn't that poke holes in the system? It definitely does. So mine is not a recommendation to fellow students on how we are going to, put it up to the university administration to have things, to have programs aligned with the youth elections, but rather a challenge to the electoral commission. Very many irregularities, just that at this point we are looking at this. Is Kamugisha smart enough to dupe my father, Simon Biabakama? Definitely not. So we need to get ourselves better. So getting to the other side of the question as well, you realize we are putting so much eyes on Makerere University. Makerere University is a public institution, yes, but UCU is not. KIU is not. Uganda Matters University is not. So, with the way I see things being run in Uganda, do you think students are going to, come up with plan X and then they go present it to the vice chancellor or, I don't know, the university council, and then the university council agrees to reschedule? You see, if the government itself cannot direct programs in UCU, cannot direct programs in Uganda Matters University, cannot direct programs in KIU, cannot direct programs in University X. So you think Chaja is going to meet Nawangwe and tell to meet Professor Nawangwe and tell Professor Nawangwe to have the program aligned with us voting, putting it in consideration that it could also happen again, that we have the elections postponed. So we need to check ourselves in quite a number of areas as a government. We need to check ourselves in quite a number of areas as institutions. However, we don't want to cry over spilled milk, right? It can still be done. If it is not done, like my brother did mention, we are being marginalized the more, because this does not happen when it comes to presidential election, does not happen when it comes to members of parliament elections. So if it is our election, or if it is our leaders, leadership system that is having such issues, then you're showing us how less irrelevant we are to you. So you keep doing this, just like we had earlier on mentioned, it keeps frustrating us day in, day out. But mine is not a recommendation. Mine is a challenge to those people. Let them get themselves clear, let them get their system right, otherwise we may keep in the rat-cat race all day, all night. That is it from me.
Okay, that is it from you, but then that seems like a recommendation. You are asking them to get themselves checked.
The question had directed me on how students can better, raise concerns to this university
your
administration.
Question was on recommendations in regards to the postponement.
Then I think,
yes,
I think I just hit it. Mine is not with the students.
Yes.
Let the Electoral Commission check itself.
Okay, thank you very much. And coming to Violet, I would like to know, since he has mentioned a very crucial point, he's talking about the challenges that we've been facing in these elections. What do you think are the other challenges that have been brought up to the surface during this period?
Thank you. The challenges that have been faced during these elections I'll take us back to the incident that occurred last week. I don't remember the exact date, but during the elections of the National Youth Representative, I don't know, president or something, whereby the chairperson of the electoral committee happens to be the one in charge of the elections, yet his son is standing for the elections as well. And he makes an interesting statement and says that my son has his own grave and I have my own grave. But at the same time, we see people that are, workers at the Electoral Commission are wearing shirts with the son's picture on them. And it becomes ironic how the father can be able to deny his own son, yet at the end of the process, we realize that actually there has been
Yes.
we realize that the elections have actually been tampered with. What I would love to recommend is that this chairperson, Mr. Tanga Odoi, should delegate his powers of being in charge. And I don't know, that is when the president actually accepts that when the president's statement that the elections should be redone, if it actually happens, I think it is better if the chairperson gives these powers to someone else. Basically, the youth cannot trust this process anymore.
What you're mentioning is that there is a conflict of interest.
Yes,
And if his son is already presented himself as a candidate, and yet the father is the boss of the whole electoral process, then there should be division of power. We should see where he stops at being the father, where he stops at being the person in charge, and we also let the son take his own course.
Yes.
That is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Okay.
And the youths are, the contestants are seeking the president's intervention in all this. The president says that, according to his lawyer's advice, these students should actually file a petition. And we realize that petitions are usually long processes, and in the end, they don't usually solve these issues. It's going to be in the tribunal, but the tribunal is the same tribunal that is under the Electoral Commission, that is under the father to the person they are having issues with. I think there should be something. I think in this particular case, since it is unique, the president should actually come and try to oversee everything and supervise the entire process like he had promised. And maybe things shall probably be more fair and just to the other contestants. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Violet. Elian, anything else you would like to add to that in terms of what challenges have surfaced ever since the election period of the National Youth Council Committee?
Just a take home that we are literally in the opening. We can call it at a ceremony we have opening statements and precursors if it's a debate or something. So whatever is happening is just an eye-opener to what is now going to happen very soon in our general elections of 2026. At this particular instance, we are no longer ashamed. We want to take power. We no longer want to know that there is someone watching me or someone is not watching me. I would count from 0 to 10 and you will be having 10 people within you. And I will actually have the video and I will justify it that indeed that's how we wanted to count that night.
That is the mathematics.
You will sleep over it actually as a country. And who else has talked about it anyway in the first place? Who is concerned? So where we are going is going to be a tough time that we must prepare for. And it does not mean we give up as young men and women. We are here to take part in these particular elections. If the National Youth elections return the ones for their special interests, people should take part. and be able to, represent their views and not only just speak about them. I want to wait for Sharon's poster and be able to share it all over social media.
Yes.
That indeed we are representing women. You see, we shall be very happy. So on that ground, I love to conclude that indeed we are just still hopeful as young men and women. We have not given up yet. We still have hope that these things will be better, and we shall soon be represented to the final particular office. Thank you so much for listening.
Elian, are there any recommendations you would give? What do you think should be done better so that this does not happen next time? Because we have seen these election periods have been postponed every single time. This is almost the third time. So what could be done better? What do you think is the challenge, and what could be done better to solve that so that this does not happen again?
Thank you so much. I would first of all agree and adopt the earlier discussions by the fellow panelists. One has talked about the fact that we need to actually be sure, and we need actually to be alive to the fact that at some point my son will be participating in an election. I have to step aside. It is just courtesy, it is humane of you, it is just humanity that stand aside with the moment you have a conflict of interest. And when you do a conflict of interest is not assessed on the fact that you are actually biased. Even if I'm going to give my son 0, it's not how it's assessed. A conflict of interest on name of the decks is assessed on grounds that what do the other people in the public actually think. When we actually hear, even if the son actually won the election, which we in the first place we know he didn't, but if in the first place he did win the election legally, then we would still be questioning how is it possible? So we are looking at us being more patriotic as young men and women, as the leaders out there. We should show a good picture. Last time, one of the panelists, the famous brother of mine, Kwesiga, noted one of the lessons I would love to concur and agree with. That what lesson are we teaching those people who are coming after us? What lesson would Tango Doi teach me who is watching him? So it just comes back to me as an individual to go back and be alive to my principles. That's the first recommendation. It starts with me. Start the change we want this country to have. The change we want to see. All of us want to live in this country, regardless of the colors we want to present, or whether we support NRM or it's NUP. All of us want to live in that country when all of us are politically sensible. That is the first thing, going back to the grounds and we check ourselves as individuals. Secondly would be the restructuring of this whole program. First of all, the Electoral Commission now looks like a puppet. The entire Electoral Commission just looks like it's just actually not even involved in whatever is taking place. They don't even have an idea about what Tango Doi did. They're just there, and for them, they're not actually going to comment about it. They'll just leave it pass, and we literally, I understand what Tango Doi did was literally concerning NRM and their primaries, but there is a way to communicate something to the Electoral Commission of the country. They must have commented and actually they must have been agitated and they must have condemned that action. That's the first thing I expected. I expected the platforms of the Electoral Commission to come out and actually say what you have done is actually wrong. In all honesty, in and above, and on land, on sea, and in air. It's all wrong. We did not get that report. In the silence, it would mean you have adopted what the people have done, and we shall also question your viability when it comes to 2026 elections. So secondly, that element of restructuring is important. We need to see that we now know who is organizing which elections and why. We have the National Youth Council Act, but in the first place, are they even following it? Because if it provides for the time frame that you must organize elections and actually do and organize these elections, you to postpone them, you literally being against the law. The law would provide for something, just like the way that national elections are provided for, that you're provided with 5 years, and you've never seen them being postponed. But when it comes to the special interest groups, they now keep postponing. We don't have money. We are going to do this. Let's first restructure. Why are you restructuring from May up to date? Why wouldn't you be putting these things in place in the right time? Because now where we're going, it's going to be hard. So we need to sit down as stakeholders, the youths, the Electoral Commission, and entirely the entire political system that is involved, so that we now restructure and mean what we are actually talking about. It goes back to the individual. That is how it would be solved, because the money is there. Matter of fact, 6 billion will be spent on delegates. Money is there. money is there. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elian. Now we know the money is there indeed. And that has been your recommendation. It goes back to the individual and recognizing what they stand for, what are their values, what is it that they believe in and want to be known for. So thank you very much. Coming to Ms. Asoniwa, I would pose the same question. What would be, besides you mentioned the challenges, and now I would like to know from you, what do you think would be the best recommendations so that we see that this does not happen again, the postponement of these elections, the frustration of the youth? What would you recommend?
So, first of all, I concur with all the other panelists. This is administrative. So, as they say in art, every mistake is a design. So I think now we have a mistake and they need to make it a design. So I feel like the best course of action is to look at why were these people protesting. The whole, like, there is really, really need for them to make what I would call a hard decision for the father and the son. Like, one of them has to leave, first of all. That is like a now solution. Because if they keep up with that in the next time, it's going to still frustrate everything, because we are not going to come from wherever we are coming for you to do the same exact thing you did. Like you're wasting our time at that point. We're not going to come for you to do the same exact thing that you did. And then maybe another thing I would say is, this is an NRM primary, but now this is the ruling party. It's on the spotlight. So it looks like an administrative fracture of the whole country. However much it just happened in the NRM primaries. Like now it's looking bad for them. It's like it's showing all the incompetence, all the this is favoritism, nepotism. So yes, there is need to like fix that, and like my now solution is for that, but then there is like a further then solution. Like they need to sit down and organize something so that we don't clash like this again. Like they need to set boundaries. I can't believe someone has to actually tell people you cannot let your son contest when you're the one. Like it feels like an implied thing, but now it seems like we have to say it. So maybe they need to say it, they need to write it down so that we don't keep going around in circles like that. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Like you said, it's looking bad for where we are going in 2026. We were on a show, an episode on here on the Civic Space, and someone said, all this violence and chaos looks like a baby shower. This is just a baby shower of what is coming next year, of the baby that's coming next year, which is a general election. Thank you very much, Sandra. With that, our discussion has been about the impact of the postponement of the special interest group elections, and the panel has given its views and its perspectives, its recommendations, and I hope this can be picked on. So as we are concluding our show, we would like to hear the closing remarks from Peter. What would you like our viewers to hear from you lastly, and anything you've picked from this show that you wish to carry on?
Thank you so much, my sister. My prayer is one. You know, with frustration usually comes apathy, right? My prayer that we are not eaten up by apathy. Fact is, the future is ours. It's not for my father, not for my Jaja, not for President Museveni, but rather mine. So when you choose the path of giving up, then I want to think we shall have chosen doom. Like my brother said, you can't run away from politics. Even when we are frustrated to the bone, let us not run away. Even when they postpone till next year, let's not give up on it, because this is our future. This is us. So my prayer is one. Let us not choose to take on the road of apathy. I must say, after saying that, after saying my prayer, I don't want to say anything past that. Let us not choose the line of apathy, but have the courage, have the resilience, not to give up. Without giving up, I'm very certain one day everything's going to be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. And Violet, what would be your concluding remarks to our viewers, and what have you taken away from this show?
All right, thank you. My concluding remarks. I think it would be very helpful if the topmost leaders actually come up and support the youth in their journey of grooming their leadership skills. It is important for them to be there for them, to support them financially, in the different ways they can be able to help them, because NRM is a very wealthy party. I think these people should be sponsored. They're extending the period to a month or so. We are not sure. The political parties should come up and help them, because there is no way they can be able to carry on till the end if they do not have the support. And their voices should not be shattered. We are seeing them trying so hard to be seen, to be heard, but they are drowning. So I think there is need for the leaders to be there for the youth, because they are looking up to these leaders. What will happen to the youth that will be there when these youths have actually grown? What are they learning as concerning leadership? I think the leaders should be there for them and support their endeavors, because this is Uganda. We are grooming Uganda. These youths are going to be the leaders eventually, and there will be more youths coming up from these youths. So, yeah, those are my remarks.
Thank you very much, Violet. You are inspiring the youth to keep going and to remain resilient.
Thank you.
Coming to John Elian, what would be your concluding remarks to our viewers and your takeaway from the show?
Thank you so much. It has been such a wonderful debate and discussion with very bright panelists. And I would love to agree that we have actually not only propagated seeds of hope within the listeners out there, so that they're able to keep pushing, so that they're able to actually not give up, so that they're being able to be resilient and, keep strong. And someday, as Peter has noted, indeed it will make the count. It will really make the sense. So I literally want to agree that indeed all might not be well as of today, but surely someday it will. And that as regards the postponement, when they sent that particular letter, most of them have been pushed to 26th September, but it still frustrates people. We do have to agree and understand, but we have to still keep taking part. However, if someone wanted to take part in that particular election and he's 18 years and is in senior 5, senior 6, that time is for another particular national exam. And as regards to how you actually saying that these people should participate, but then there are structural hindrances, it becomes hard. Yet these elections were supposed to actually have been had long time ago. So it means those people are in second are not going to be allowed even if they are 20s, because literally they're not going to participate. So by you pushing this, it literally frustrates, and we have to go back to our particular values as individuals, and that would in the end conclude the entire discussion I would have on the same. And thank you for organizing this show and inviting us on this show and having such a wonderful debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elian, for your concluding remarks. And Ms. Sandra Asoniwa, what are your concluding remarks to our viewers and your takeaway from the show?
This was a very beautiful discussion. A lot of new words from this side. And yes, as they said, we have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing and try our level best to show up, try to make our voices heard. And we can only hope for the best. We really hope that come September, October, it's all good and it's all worked on. It's successful. And with time, the more we have these conversations, the more people hear, the more people talk and tell other people. And that's how change starts. So this is change starting. So we hope for the best. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sandra. That has been our show today with very intelligent guests who are educators, who are advocates, who are students as well, hearing their perspective on the impact of the postponement of the special interest group elections. We'd like to hear what you think about the postponement of these elections down in the comment section below. Please follow Civic Space TV, like and subscribe. Until next time, I have been your host, Sharon Mukisa.